healer of infirmities, the honor of the loving grace. Come, let's rejoice and give him praise. Conqueror.
Welcome to Reaching Out. We've got a very interesting program lined up for you. We're going to talk about some of the things that we can do to stop the turmoil that's going on in this country. There are things that we can do, there are some things we can't. And the question that we all have to ask, do we want to intervene in what is going on? Do we want to change the course of, I'm going to call it history? But we got a couple of ideas here, and we got a lot of ideas. I don't know how much we're going to get done. But anyway, it's important, because we will leave a world of chaos, or we will leave a blessed world for our children and grandchildren. So before we start that, we're going to ask Wanda for a couple announcements, and then we're going to get right into our presentation.
Okay, well, first today, I'm going to tell you about our website. Our website is reachingoutministries.org. We're connected to our Sunday messages, and Pastor Allen's books are on there, and it's reachingoutministries.org, and it's Whitehall, because there's more than one Reaching Out Ministries in this world. So connect to the right one and tell your friends and neighbors about it. And we are also on YouTube. You can connect through the station here. And I don't know all the technical aspects, but they tell me it's easy. So I wanted to get that in here because sometimes I forget. Now, we start out our week at church on Sunday morning at 9:30 with Sunday school and 10:30 worship service, and then we have a pot blessing afterwards. So you're welcome to come to any and all of those activities. We have a good time, we study the Word, and pray and worship God. Monday morning, bright and early, 6 a.m., we'll find a group of us down at the Danny's City Cafe in Whitehall, having breakfast and studying the Word of God. And on Thursdays, we have our food distribution. The $10 donation will get you lots and lots of food. You can pick up some for your neighbors. And we are giving away food every week on Thursdays. On the first and third Thursday, we are there in the morning from 9 until 11 a.m. And the second, fourth, and fifth Thursdays, we're there in the afternoon from 3 until 5. So you'll have varying times depending on when you work or when you are able to get out there. And I told you about the website, and so I don't know that there's anything else going on right now, but you're welcome to come to our activities. So, Pastor?
Okay, well, that sounds exciting. Lots of good things going on if you could see yourself, join. We're completely non-denominational. If it's in the book, we believe it. If it's not in the book, we really don't want to hear about it. But we do have to hear about some things. In Leviticus 18:24, I want to read this to you. For the land is defiled, therefore I visit the punishment of its iniquity upon it, and the land vomits out its inhabitants. We've seen crisis after crisis after crisis. 1 in 3 Americans have experienced climate crisis last year. Now we're in 2022. Is the land doing it to us, or are we doing it to the land? I personally believe that we're doing it to the land. I think it all started with sin, and I think it got out of control, and now we have another problem.
The land is going to return the favor.
You shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit any of those abominations, either any of your own nation or any stranger who dwells among you. Thus the land is defiled, lest the land vomit you out when you defile it, as it vomited out the nations before.
That's horrible.
Well, it's Leviticus 20:22, and how do you process that? Because we have seen tornadoes, we have seen earthquakes, we have seen volcanoes, we have seen so much snow in the mountains they had to close the ski hills until they got dug out. We have seen 100-mile-an-hour winds in the Midwest.
Is that how the earth vomits us out?
Yeah. And you know what? We are down to less than 1% population growth. Less than 1%.
Where? In this country, but not in every country, is it?
We can't.
I don't know.
Well, other countries have different rules about some of that stuff too.
Yeah.
But overall, the pandemic has definitely slowed down
Everything.
the population growth in general.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Which I personally don't think is necessarily a bad thing until some unforeseen consequence comes up that we need people for.
Well,
the jobs that you talked about last time, I just mean like overpopulation was one of the causes here in terms of it demanded more resources, demanded more products than to be made, it demanded more of everything. And even though most products are just made for us in America to buy, but
see,
overpopulation has been critical for quite a while.
we have such a mess in our country that here's an example. We don't have enough people to manage. We don't have enough people to fry hamburgers at McDonald's.
Oh, I think we do. I take issue with that. I think we do. We have too many people that aren't working.
We have
I think.
I agree.
we have thousands of square feet of factory space standing idle, growing up to weeds. We have complete shopping malls growing up to weeds.
That's because everybody's shopping online, I think.
Well,
I'm sorry.
modern solutions have replaced a lot of
So
things
what do we
now.
do with that pollution?
Well, I saw you had that written down on here in terms of like what should like companies do in terms of like their old buildings and structures, and it kind of like makes you wonder about like nuclear cleanups. They were always so crazy about how those things got cleaned up and how
They
everything
never
else
got cleaned up.
Oh wait, no.
No.
Well, there you go. So that's an example of something that really should have been cleaned up and wasn't. And now we have skyscrapers, or we will have these different office facilities just vacant because most jobs have been outsourced or turned remote as well.
You know, here's an interesting one, Gabe. Go on Google and type in abandoned factories, abandoned shopping malls, abandoned entertainment parks, in abandoned buildings, and look at the total amount of floor space we've got there. The question that I have to pose.
Well, maybe we'll eventually need that. I mean, maybe we'll need that.
It's
Maybe
falling down. It's a place
We'll
for
need people to repurpose it.
garbage. It's just a garbage pile now. But how do we deal with that? Here's the problem.
Do we have?
We throw our milk cartons in the ocean. Why shouldn't we let the buildings just rot in a pile?
I don't know.
It's all about priority, and they shifted the priority, and they made jobs easier to do instead of harder and less face-to-face time, and they changed it out. Priorities changed with the pandemic, right?
Yes.
In a way.
It started
Yeah,
before that, but
It started before that, sure.
But a lot of
The trends of it all.
pandemic has changed a lot of things. A lot of things.
see, we can blame the pandemic on the plastic floating in the ocean,
But
with biggest in the state of Wisconsin.
No,
the pandemic
no, it
didn't cause
start
that.
With, it
Really-
didn't start with the pandemic.
really what you're getting at is, with what you're talking about with buildings and stuff like that, is companies and corporations have said one thing, done another, and
Yep.
it looks like they're creating messes that they can't clean up or they can barely satisfy the public on. And really, we look at corporations right now that have become so big in the last 20 years. I mean, not even in the last 20 years, really, but like auto companies are bigger, right?
Yeah.
But we have corporations whose interests now supersede our own, in a way.
Right. We have companies that are bigger than our federal government.
We should go back to mom and pop stores.
Well,
Back when we traded goods and services and less cash and
Okay.
Yeah.
now,
Back to the simpler days. I'm all for that.
I
I wonder if the younger generation would be opposed to that. Would they be opposed to going back to simpler times?
I think that we're going to see a renaissance of different things in the next 20. But yes, I don't think they'd be opposed to that.
keep it
Not all of
simple.
them.
I want a simple cell phone. I don't want a cell
Yeah.
phone that's got all of this
There's
garbage
a good
on.
example.
I want a simple car, a car that I can drive and know what I'm doing.
I think it's about making. Making things simple, making them agree. Understanding the science, making it all simple, so that we can understand it better for everybody.
We have so much technological pollution in our world.
Why isn't it
You can't
simple?
hardly function.
Why isn't it so simple?
What was that book that we read in college, maybe? Future Shock?
Yeah,
I think we're there.
I think we got shocked.
Yeah, I think that not just us. I mean, we're old,
I'm in shock.
but the younger generation is in shock because of all of this. The
They ain't having any problems
technology.
with it. It's old people that got problems.
We got
Well,
the
they just don't know
problems,
they have
but
problems
we
yet.
know about simpler times. They were born into all this technology, and so they can handle some of that better. But it's just overwhelming to them, I think.
See, now they've got, here's another thing that we should look at. We talk about pollution and we talk about taking care of our planet and all of these things. But try this one on for size. There's so much light pollution in the Midwest here that you can't go out, you can't even go out at night and look at the stars and not have everything polluted with light. However, if you go out into central Canada or you go out into the desert, they actually have tours to go out and look at the stars because they have no light pollution and they're bright and they're shining.
Right.
But we don't appreciate, we don't delve into these things. We let the corporate interest do it all.
And I think
Well,
we've been given all the tools we need too. We've got access to a lot of different things.
So why don't we act on some of this stuff?
It's because
You know they make movies out of this, don't you?
2012. Do you see
The
2012?
little guy against the corporation.
Oh,
They're
wait.
going to take down the trees, and the little guy comes along and stands in the road. I mean, they make movies out of this, guys. This has been an ongoing thing for a while.
So,
And-
and the only thing I'll say is why is it so hard for young people or people in younger generations to like move and stuff, or especially ones like you said that have been like born into this more so than anything, and it's like it's because you feel like you were born into it and that you have to save the world now, and that you are the main character, that we've been born in this
If
time.
you don't save the world, it's going to get in trouble.
How
It's going
much-
to get in big trouble?
How much freedom was I truly born with?
None.
Well, right, and yeah, but like on top of that too, on top of this, the way things were going in the trend, I was just born into this time period here where we're seeing more crises than normal, and so it's very tough. And there was no class on this, and there was no explanation from my parents about how in your 20s you're gonna have to figure out everything and nothing and learn to be happy with yourself, and then the world is melting. So it's hard because it seems like there's a lot of pressure now because we procrastinated the issues so long. That now we look towards other people. We don't know the solutions to it. I mean, we do and we don't.
Here's a question. I got my first question.
We need the solutions.
First
not questions.
First question on the paper is: can a corporate America afford to control this type of pollution,
You know-
emissions, pollution?
Yes.
Right.
Whatever happened to letting me off of this corporate show and getting somebody else on here?
Okay.
I
here-
didn't.
It's okay.
Can they give up owning the water?
Where does it say this?
Can they give up owning the air?
Well, now we're going to be debating the philosophy of corporations.
Can they give up who owns the land?
There's always a choice, but I mean, the inherent philosophy of most of these companies is to turn profit.
That's right.
And so because that's the most simple way we can put it. If we're going to generalize companies, in a way, which most companies are this way, so we need something stronger to clash against that ideology. We need the whole business to.
So what do we got that will clash with that?
The inherent dangers of not being able to live on this planet and not being able to have peace.
You think that'll change people?
Problem is we just don't know the roots of these companies too. Like, I mean, maybe these people have really thrown it all, and they're just, you triple dog down on it, right? Jeffrey Bezos is in everybody's Amazon Alexa and stuff. He's a company first, and then he made a government contract, right? And now he's in everybody's business, or he's part of a lot of things, I'm sure. So he triple dog down onto it. He's not trying to save the climate.
This'll mess everybody up, but our microwave went out, so I got to get a microwave. Mm-hmm. Do you want one that you can talk to? Do you want one that answers you? I just want one that I punch on. Can't buy it.
You can't buy it?
Nope.
And
I'm going to try.
And why is that though? And we talked about it with culture shifts and priorities changing, right? Like people wanted more instant gratification. They wanted more hand-holding in a way, which is what automated machines do.
I just want to put on.
Boys, look at your camera.
I just want to punch on. You look at the one that's the red light is on.
Yeah. That's
so technical. We got so many cameras, we're not sure which one to look at. So you got to look at the one with the red light.
This is nice.
And I love it.
It's nice.
Oh, now we're in the center one. We could have fun with this.
Yeah, well,
technology.
Try.
Technology and culture go hand in hand right now because that's what changed everything. Our culture, our priorities around how we interact with each other, and everything changed. We got farther apart but closer at the same time. And now the closeness, we could probably argue we don't want anymore. We don't want to see everything all the time.
I think people are farther apart now than you've ever been.
Oh, no, right. Closer in the sense that we can call anybody, but farther in the sense that, the social aspects have changed and they're not as impactful anymore either. And you scroll enough on your phone and you find that you're not having fun anymore, but we still do it. And so, when you talk about simpler lives and simpler times, I think that most of the people that haven't triple dogged down on their relationship with their phone and their online relationship with everybody, that I think a lot of other people will want to go back to simpler times, though. I think a lot of other people see this stuff and it's all white noise and static, and it's pretty annoying at this point now.
Do you want to go back to simpler times?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's why I'm trying to garden, and that's why I want to try and be more self-sustainable, because then you have the potential to go wherever you want and then be sustainable.
I want to go so simple I don't even play video games.
Okay, well, that's a personal choice then for you. I mean, I'll still hide my computer. Take that with me out to my cabin in the middle of the woods, power it up once a month and play a couple games.
And here's another thing that's happening, and we're going to come back to these abandoned buildings and all of these abandoned factories, and we're going to go to the milk cartons. What would happen if you had to pay $1 deposit on every milk carton you took out of the convenience store?
Make it $5. Just go $5.
You think you'd bring it back?
It was $5 or $1.50 or $3.50. I mean, yeah.
I think you wouldn't have a problem with throwing them in the ocean. That problem would evaporate. That's simple.
Right, we devalued our materials. Plastic became a luxury that we just made too much of, and now we throw it everywhere.
Yeah.
We devalued it. We didn't value it enough.
And that's a simple solution.
In one of the countries we were in, they had, what country was that, where they had soda and...
It was $1 a bottle. You had
glass bottles.
Bottles, and you
they do
made a
everywhere
deposit,
else.
But you got it back when you took the...
You got it back, or you got more soda, whatever. Mm-hmm. But you see, we need to become accountable. Do we want to become accountable? That's a big question. Do you want to inconvenience? I grew up. We had Fair Oaks Dairy just outside of town here. The only thing that's standing there now is a house and a piece of the silo. And the bottling plant and everything is gone. But they brought the milk, they set it on the doorstep, and you use the milk and you put the bottle out there. And the bottles went around and around and around. Pop bottles the same way, around and around and around. The beer bottles the same way, around and around and around. And you didn't have an ocean full of plastic bottles. Now we don't do that, and we just throw them in the ocean. And if the people, I don't know that this is 100% right, but the people that say it's almost the size of the state of Wisconsin, floating garbage. And from that floating garbage, that plastic, we have contaminated every single drop of water in this world. You can go to the mountains and there's microscopic fibers of
PFAS.
plastic.
PFAS. PFAS.
PFAS.
Yeah, that's the acronym for it.
That's the acronym.
And it's a chemical that's so small. It's in everything. Yep. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go on. I just
No,
remembered
go
it.
ahead. We tried to figure that out before.
No, right.
So when do we want to start taking care of business?
Now.
So how do we take care of it?
Well,
Do you recycle?
Everybody does their part.
so hold on. Okay, all right. I do recycle. Okay, I do, and it was a slow process. I just got some recycling bins at the store, and I was neglecting to take them to the recycling center. That's how good I was for a little bit. But now I started again. But you have to be brutally honest, I think, and not brutally honest, but you have to be accountable too. And we only know so much, and we've been also dragged and led astray by very many sources who promised us much more. But I don't think that means we have to be hard on ourselves now. We need to try and just move forward.
We need to move forward from here.
It becomes negligence if we move forward in the wrong ways, right? It becomes negligence if we choose to keep doing the same things over and over and over again. That's like the definition of chaos or insanity. We keep repeating everything, and then we expect the climate to cool down. It's not going to happen, though.
See, if everybody had a pound of waste, and I think we'll generate about 8 pounds of waste per person per day, or I'm not sure.
Oh my gosh.
But let's say that we got 8 pounds of waste, and we got 400 million people in this country. Look how many pounds of stuff, if we recycled it, would not end up in landfills.
Way too much.
Think about that. That product would not. If we take and I use this statistic, and I don't know what I did with it right now, but if you took paint, and everybody in the world recycled their old paint. Now, we used to buy recycled paint when we had the surplus store, and we sold it. You could sell it for $4 a gallon at that time. It's probably a little more now. But you know what? Nobody wanted it. You know why they didn't want it? Because it was the wrong tint. They wanted the convenience of Dutch Master, where you've got 1,000 different mixes. And then when they wanted to switch it, they threw the old paint in the landfill. A gallon of paint is 400 million gallons of paint if each person threw away a gallon per year. We wonder why we have turmoil in the earth. We wonder why the streams are dying. You can't not have them die. There's a television show, and I've watched this. It's called Magnetic Fishing. These guys have pulled every imaginable piece of junk out of the water that you could think of. And when that thing deteriorates, it contaminates the stream. And when it contaminates the stream, it contaminates the fish. And it contaminates the fish, it contaminates the animals that eat the fish. And that includes us in many cases. Folks, we have to take care of the garden. We have to take care of our planet. We can't let it just die.
So where is...
So what do we do?
No, not what. Because, the what's we kind of know. I think a lot of scientists would agree together that a lot of the what's we kind of know. The why that I want to ask, though, is, where is the divide between understanding? Because that's why I said it on the last show. There isn't really anything, there's no coincidences.
No.
We are just not smart enough at all times to understand everything that goes on. Why our coworker came in with a very bad mood or upset, you know what I mean? Or different things in our normal life we can even question, we can try and look past or look further into even to understand why people do what they do. So what I'm asking though is, why people that deny climate change or deny certain things,
Is anybody interested?
they're not curious. Why aren't people curious about what's going on, I guess, more so? Why does it seem like generations have become more resigned? Because it's hard. Because then if you take it individually, it's hard. You look out and it's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And then I got to go to a 9-to-5 job and I'm tired at the end of my day.
Why don't we eat healthy?
It's hard. And then eating healthy, going home and eating healthy, taking care of yourself, taking care of your curiosity.
Who's in charge of your eating? The guy that sells potato chips or you?
I read something where that if you can control what you eat, you can control a lot of other things after that, if you can learn how to control what you can eat.
Yep. You're right.
It has to be conscious.
It is, no, and that's the hardest part, I think. So
you've worked from 9 until 5, you're tired, so you go grab something that's instant that you can pop into that microwave.
Yeah,
And,
push a button.
Or,
I can't push a button. I got to push 10 of
push
them.
a button.
Please, cook my food. You have to ask them.
And eat, and then you throw the packaging, can, whatever it is, in the wastebasket instead of in the recycle basket.
Oh.
Any plastic or cans, aluminum, tin, whatever, all goes in the wastebasket because you're tired. And then you go sit down at the TV and watch the TV.
And you pollute your world.
You ever seen The Matrix?
No. No, we don't usually watch a lot of movies.
Here's a question. I just thought about it. Has society at this point now created an experience that people deem not worth saving? Is it because
maybe everybody's a fatalist? I don't know.
Well, no, but they weren't born as fatalists.
No, look at kids.
That's not what I'm saying.
Kids will laugh 75 times a day. Adults will laugh less than 10.
And so, has society finally created this product, this life that everyone's living kind of right now in different ways, and it's just not worth. Some people are resigned to the fact that it can't change, and they don't want to change it maybe that way, or that's a question, I guess, that could get in between someone's understanding about things because they don't want to understand, right?
I'm going to ask.
People are basically selfish.
No.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
But they do care.
No. That conflicts a little bit there, Grandma.
I got something.
Selfishness and caring don't really conflict. Or, well, I guess they do care about themselves. You're right.
I got something yesterday posted. We're all some things, quite a few things have still canceled or they've been changed, so they're not the same as they used to be. And this says not everything is canceled. Sunshine is not canceled. Spring is not canceled. Love is not canceled. Relationships are not canceled. Reading is not canceled. Naps are not canceled. Devotion is not canceled. Music is not canceled. Dancing is not canceled. Imagination is not canceled. Kindness is not canceled. Conversations are not canceled. And hope is not canceled. So, when you're talking about being selfish or not caring, some of this stuff has all to do with caring and hope and realizing that this stuff has not been canceled.
And how do we cultivate more spaces and more behaviors around that? Last wedding I went to, nobody was dancing.
Yeah.
I had no idea why. I looked into it and I was like, I am sad. I would like to dance.
Maybe they didn't want to.
But then,
I didn't blame them, you know what I mean, on that part. I just was kind of perturbed by it, you know what I mean? It was kind of different.
But then, Gabe, isn't it your responsibility to go and ask some gal to dance with you and get something started?
I got up a little bit. and I try a little bit, but you're right. None of those things have been canceled, not in the slightest.
No.
But what I'm talking about when I say society has made people question this existence, I just mean like the outside forces of what's going on have crept in the last 2-3 years to a lot of people in the pandemic alone. The pandemic kind of brought things more closer, right? Mm-hmm. And then we stopped having dance clubs, or if you go to a dance club, now you're insensitive because there's a virus going around. And so it's so conflicted. Everything's conflicted.
It doesn't end
But
because...
Let me throw something else in this discussion here.
You could throw it in there, and I have a solution to what Grandma's talking about, too.
Okay.
Yep.
All
Should the
right.
government issue mandates?
Oh, we can't talk about that yet. Okay, let me get to my solution first, and then we can talk about the difference between this democracy that we have that's loosely trying to work versus the authoritarian state.
Go ahead.
I had a phone call with a friend today who told me that she is just going to try and make sure she gets the bare minimum done and maybe a couple things for herself on like a daily basis. And that she has turned off her social media and she has turned off the news for the most part for the last month. She says she's going to get back on next month, so she's not going crazy. But she's being selfish in a sense that I can agree with, though. I don't agree with selfishness otherwise. But when you need to take care of yourself and you need to find time to do some of these things, you need to find a space to dance in or to read some books or to nap, it's about trying to find pleasure again, little pleasures or bigger ones, whatever you're looking for, you know? And then we go back into gratitude now. Those things haven't been canceled, right, Grandma, but it's just...
No, and
society has made it so much harder for people to do these things, to gather in general, right?
Yeah, but this helps, this encourages us. This makes us realize that there is life here, yet life hasn't ended.
It's only changed.
And for your friend to take a month off is not a bad idea.
Life hasn't even slowed down.
No.
Right, but we get our eyes get focused on all the problems, and they are overwhelming. That's why I said it's like future shock to us. So what happens when in future shock? They just shut down. They shut down. And
most people are.
Everybody was overwhelmed, and then you shut down and you don't do anything. And you forget that the sun is going to come up tomorrow.
And now corporations will do everything.
Yeah.
Yes. Corporations do it all.
All these other
exactly.
things will
and
so there is
mandates.
no thinking, there's no individualism, there's no faith. We all have the ability, we all have a seed of faith within us. And we all have the ability to have faith in God. And so, oh my gosh, somebody's trying to call me. That's what I get for bringing my cell phone.
No, you should have talked to him.
We got to call her.
Show.
No way.
Well, okay, so hold that thought, because I will tell this person that, Hi, we're on the air doing a TV show.
You got a question?
Do you have a question for us?
No, I forgot.
Oh, okay.
That's okay.
Here's something that we want to look at.
All right.
And that is,
all right.
Do we need a big brother, for lack of a better way to say it, to issue mandates?
Bye.
You know, that guides our direction? Do we need a big brother to mandate whether or not we should not eat sugar until we get diabetes and fill the hospital beds? Do we need a big brother to tell us that we should get vaccinated so we don't fill the hospital beds with COVID things?
No.
You know, we kind of did that with...
Well, we've watched, so they mandated what, masks? They mandated vaccines for corporations with certain sizes above certain amounts, or they tried to.
It was illegal.
And then they took it away and stuff. So I guess...
But we don't want a society. Are we happy with our democracy? Because we don't want a society that is going to dictate everything to us.
But then you don't have to think.
No. It's sort of like your sister who is in another country, and they have mandates, They can't even go outside without a mask on.
After 9 o'clock, curfew's already going on. Yep.
And 9 o'clock curfew.
Yep.
So you better be in your house at 9 o'clock at night.
So
Do we want something like that? They don't have very many COVID cases.
they're not functioning they're functioning kind of in their own way over there right now. Absolutely. I guess the problem with this example is that, I think a lot of us wouldn't want mandates for a lot of things in general. But the specifics about this mandate that we're talking about is there's a disagreement on science around this mandate.
Yeah.
And then a disagreement on rights at this point too, right? Well, I guess rights already disagree with mandates.
Let me throw another
Sorry.
thing in here, and then we'll do we want to
get my Bible out?
Do we want to mandate eating healthy? Do we want to so that we don't have heart problems? Do we want to eat healthy so we don't have type 2 diabetes? Do we want to manage our overweight? Do we want to stop smoking or never starting under a mandate? Do we want to stop drinking? Where do you want the government to mandate you got to exercise? You got to walk so many steps per day?
It's hard. It's hard to ask that of,
Where do
of a
the
country
mandates-
like America.
Where do the mandates come?
That's not going to happen here. I can guarantee you
I mean,
that.
it's hard to ask it in general, but I mean, like, as in,
I think we need
Jesus.
to. You need to run for Congress and
That's what I was thinking.
on
All right, guys.
10,000 steps. If they don't have 10,000 steps,
well, I've talked about this solution. All right, so when I become president of the United States, in the future here, I'm going to do what Switzerland did. Or Sweden? Switzerland, sorry. Everybody should have to join the Guard for 2 years. That's what they do in Switzerland. They all join the National Guard. They all get like resilience classes, physical fitness training a little bit here on the weekends. It's not even like a big commitment like basic training is here. But we need to build people up so they can make the right choices in general. No coincidences, right? We're looking at people out here that have bad habits and things that go against a lot of their own inherent interests. They're not eating healthy. They're eating and having side effects from it, right?
and they're filling the hospital beds.
And now the reason why Omicron is actually dangerous is because it's screwed up all the hospitals. We have so many people in the healthcare industry that are quitting their jobs because they can't bear this anymore. They can't bear the stress of it all. It's been 3 years. And we have to acknowledge it's been 3 years and nothing's changed. And that is sad. And we need to kind of just be aware of it, really. Awareness is key. And
You think people are capable of being aware?
I think most people don't want to be aware. I think it's hard to be aware in a society that is drilling us with negative news all the time and drilling us with a lot going on.
I can say this from experience because I have, I'm more retired now, so I spend more time watching television. And the ads, you watch the ads, and the food ads come on. So after about 3 or 4 food ads, where do you head? You head to the kitchen, to the refrigerator.
You're hungry.
Because those advertisers are controlling your appetite.
Yep.
And where does this stop? Because we're destroying our country.
It's all psychological.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
God knew that we were going to have all these problems. So here's what he said. The man he gave the gift of wisdom to, Solomon. He wrote this in Proverbs. Listen carefully, my child, to everything that I teach you, and pay attention to all that I have to say. So here's what you do. Fill your thoughts with my words until they penetrate deep into your spirit. Then, as you unwrap my words, they will impart true life and radiant health into the very core of your being. So above all, guard the affections of your heart, for they affect all that you are. Pay attention to the welfare of your innermost being, for from there flows the wellspring of life.
Yep.
How these are healing words. These are words that all the questions that we have about why people don't do this and why don't they do that, it's because they're not connecting to the source, the creator, the one who made them, the one who made you and me and Gabe and everybody else on this earth, made us a certain way and made us to respond to the words that he speaks. And most people don't understand that. They don't know why they're floundering around out here and they're lost and they're overwhelmed and they're anxious and they're angry. Oh my God. People are angry and they're fearful because they're not connected to the words. I love the way this says, fill your thoughts with my words. Then as you unwrap my words, it's like they're all in there and we just have to unwrap them when we need something and we need to know about something and we need to make a decision about something. So it's all there. And this wisdom was given to Solomon by God, and he put it down on paper so that we would, centuries later, would be reading it and understand that the source of our strength, the source of our life, is God himself. And when we connect with the Creator and connect with the Lord, the one and the same, then we will get the answers. Then we will know why. Then we will know all the things that we've been pondering and questioning. We'll know the answers to life.
Well, here's what's prophetic for Washington. Psalm 109:2 says, "For people who are wicked and deceitful have opened their mouths against me, and they have spoken against me with lying tongues." Wow.
Yeah, they have.
In Proverbs 11:9, with his mouth the godless man would destroy his neighbor, but by knowledge the righteous are delivered. In Matthew 24:10, now we're back to that chapter 24 in Matthew. Everybody, if you don't have a Bible, Wanda can find you one, but read
Yes.
that. Read chapter 24. And then many will fall away and betray one another and hate each other. What's going on? Look at the hatred that we see all around us. And what this does is it curses the land. And when we curse the land will react. And it will vomit out the inhabitants. We read those verses in Leviticus. It will vomit out the inhabitants. We are the inhabitants. We need to quit cursing the land by hating each other.
Hate is, it's cyclical. It doesn't end.
So
Right,
You know,
it
you know
doesn't
what I mean,
end.
though? Like,
Yeah.
as in, like, it creates more hate. And, like, you know how they make movies about revenge and stuff
Yep.
like that? They're not fun movies half the time because
No.
revenge is not a fun business to be in.
No.
But, like, right, it's cyclical. And if we can't break curses like this,
Well, see, I've always said this.
Yeah.
It's not what they do to you. It's what you do with what they did.
everything has always been about your reaction.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's the one place where you're in control.
Yeah. That's the only place you're in control.
And so, you know,
You got an advertiser selling you food. And I was watching the advertising for the Super Bowl and for the football games and that.
Mm-hmm.
Man, just look at those ads for once. They just got everybody all stirred up because they're in control of you. The advertising controls you. What's going on around you controls you. You have to take control. You have to take it back. You can't give it up. And what we've done is we've given it up. And as a result, we have given our control to the corporate interest, and therefore we have polluted our world something severely. We've created garbage dumps. We have created blocks and blocks of abandoned houses. We have created slums. Go Google the worst streets in America. In some of those streets I drove on, and they're nothing but burned out shacks of nothing. You see, we need to take charge. And how do we take charge? That's the question. What do you do to take charge?
And that's why we're going back to my country again. Here in America, when I'm president, and you go to the Guard for 2 years and stuff like that, and you take some physical fitness tests, and you take a little bit of psychology, and you understand more about it, it just becomes an awareness thing. And also, so many people are they're not confident enough, right? They haven't had moments where they can, prove to themselves that they're even confident in themselves, right? So much of it comes from that. And taking control is being confident in yourself and understanding the world as we know it. That's helping me be confident. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot to understand about the world right now, and it's not great, right? You can't live there forever, though. And the best we can do is just keep talking about this stuff together, though.
Yes.
You have to want to be curious. You have to want to see solutions, too. And we have to break the cycle of hating, and for so many reasons.
Yeah,
so
here's
many
another
stigmas.
verse that ties into this. Leviticus 26:4. It says, in other words, rainfall would come in moderate and timely amounts, and there would not be floods or droughts. You
That
see,
would be nice.
we have set things in motion that we didn't want to set in motion. And the only way that we can change that is we have to change our attitudes. We have to change direction. We have to learn to love. Wanda said it right with all of these things that are still here. We can fight over masks forever, and it'll never solve anything. We can fight over vaccines forever. And I could say a lot about, we had polio vaccines, we had vaccines for tuberculosis and malaria and all of these things, and we've seen wonderful things happen. But people are still fighting over those things, and people are still fighting over the COVID thing, and 25 years from now, they'll still be fighting over that.
Everybody's waiting for the last laugh right now.
They want the last word.
And there will be no laughter
No.
No.
at the end of this. Go to a hospital anywhere around you right now if you're not really convinced about what's going on. Just go to one hospital. Try and get care.
Right.
If you're not convinced about what's going on
Not
out
a good
there.
time to be sick.
Yeah, don't get sick now because you're not going to get in.
Not a good time to be.
We had a relative
leg.
that needed care, and they ended up in Milwaukee because that was the only place they could find a bed. Think about that.
Right.
You see, we need to recognize that we have set things in motion in our land, so it's time to start changing. Make friends with your neighbor. Make friends with your neighbor. And if you don't think you think neighbors don't get along so good, drive down most in towns and just watch and see who's got a 10-foot high fence between two houses.
I'd say the last time I was driving through Black River, I actually went in the snowbank. Unrelated, I'm a good driver though, for the most part. But like 3 different people came out of their house at that point.
To help you.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think that if we talk politically or we talk about a lot of things going on right now, we find ourselves arguing. But aside from that, we all share a lot of the same experiences and how life is, and how we're all going through it right now, whatever that means to you.
I got one for you, Gabe.
Yeah? What are you going to do?
I dropped a piece of junk on the road the other day, and I stopped to pick it up.
You dropped my... Yeah, yesterday.
And a Viking fan stopped to help me.
That's nice.
I have to rethink.
That's real nice.
I have to rethink.
When somebody needs help, what team you support doesn't really matter, does it?
I didn't ask her if she was a masker, but she loved the Vikings.
Right? There is no such thing as enemies. There's only people amongst us.
There's only people.
Amongst all of us.
And we need to become more people. More people focused.
Absolutely.
More people focused.
Absolutely. No, and I think this is another quote that resonates with me pretty well. You can only know other people to the extent that you know yourself. And I think a lot of other people also need to try and get in touch with themselves. I think that's where you break hate. I think a lot of people have negative views of themselves because of the confidence issue we talked about. And so
You know-
I think that self-hatred is the first hatred to conquer, and then after that, I mean, you can look in on other people and you
You
just
can
see
never
them
love
differently.
somebody until you love yourself.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
Well, the Bible says that.
yeah. And you know, the Bible also says you're supposed to love your neighbor as yourself. I'll tell you what, the way some of my neighbors hate themselves, I don't want them to love me like they love themselves.
Absolutely.
Well, they're not. They're not.
Right.
You don't have to worry about it.
But
It
see-
says love your neighbor as yourself. So you have to love yourself to love your neighbor.
Yes.
Well, and what stops selfishness and all this other stuff? Empathy,
Yeah.
gratitude.
Gratitude.
You know, understanding that. I like to
Right.
think of like the glass half empty. I mean, it always could be a lot more detrimental. A lot of things could be.
Oh, yes.
And you know, being grateful for what we have and stuff, and understanding that it can change, and that none of this is very permanent at all. You know, it puts things into perspective
You know,
differently.
I got to say this, in passing out this food now, we've done that for 22 years. And we've seen every imaginable thing that you could think of. But you know what? There are so many good people that they really appreciated the food. Companies have given us food. People have brought cans and boxes of groceries and produce, and absolutely radiated the love. You could see it. It just flowed out of them.
Yeah.
That's what makes the world go round. That's what'll change our country. That's what'll solve the pollution problems. That's what'll solve the technological problems. Somebody will love me enough to make a microwave that I'll have to just push the button. You saw,
Maybe we can find an old one in a secondhand store someplace.
but we need to become human beings again. We need to become human beings. We need to learn to love each other. We need to learn to love ourselves. We need to, because when we start doing that, we'll love our country and we won't throw our cans out along the road. I came down the road the other day, and if there wouldn't have been cars all over it, I'd stop and picked it up. Somebody there was a 12-pack of cans laying all over the road. Why? Why do we have to do those things? We can pick them up, give them to the kids. They can use them for fundraising. We need to become real people. We need to become real people. And our
Right.
churches and our community organizations and our local governments need to promote that.
Yes.
Why is it that you mainly hear, I mean, random acts of kindness
Yeah.
are more like reported with strangers and stuff like that than normal acts of kindness?
Yeah.
And like, why is that, you know? Like, we all need to start really like accepting each other for everything, not even just the strangers that
Absolutely.
we don't know anything about, and we don't judge them for that reason. We don't judge them, and we don't pass judgment at all.
No.
But so many people even know each other and stuff out there, and we still hate on people on Facebook that we think we know, and
I did
we don't know them.
I did something the other day where there was a truck had trouble, and just under the circumstance I couldn't stop, but I got all the way to town. I says to Wanda, I says, we got to go back. Maybe we can help them. So we went back and talked to the people. You see, we need to become brothers and sisters to each other. We need to become real. We need to shed that cloak of
Arrogance,
selfishness, pride,
loathing.
egotistic loathing.
Yeah.
We need to shed that.
There was a country song a few years ago. The last line is going through my mind, but that's always be humble and kind. I don't know even who sang it now, but that was that person's attempt to get the people to think about being kind to one another. And that was before the pandemic.
It's funny that music and television and all these things they're just different explorations of ideas
Of ideas
through
and what's going on now.
through
Right now,
storytelling, or through music,
Yeah.
through just lyricisms like that.
what's going on right now in the Christian music is a lot of songs about Jesus and turning toward Jesus, focusing on Jesus, loving on Jesus, his love for us, and also about not being anxious, about trusting God. I had the words, which I'm not going to read now, but there's a young band out of Kenosha, Wisconsin called Skillet, and the lead is John Cooper, and he wrote a song about refuge. That God is, and I'll just read the chorus. I can face my darkest night because I trust you with my life. I'm not afraid, for you are my refuge. When it's heavy on my chest, you're the place I catch my breath. You are the only one I hold on to. Yes, you are my refuge. And that was taken from Nahum 1:7. The Lord is good, a stronghold in the day of trouble, and he knows those who take refuge in him. And that kind of music is coming out of, we need to be close to God during these times.
Over the years, we've done some shows on music and on the words. The Bible says that everything that you speak out, of whatever comes out of your mouth, is what you got in your heart. So I would say to everyone, take some time, stop at one of the local bars and listen to what's coming out of people's mouths. Go to the grocery store, listen to what's coming out of the people's mouth. Go to a political rally and listen to what's coming out of people's mouths. And then listen to what's coming out of your mouth. Because that is what is going to make the world change, and that's what makes the world work. Because nothing that you say will not come to pass. It'll come to pass in its time and its season. So that's why I have changed my life completely. That's why I gave my life to Christ. That's why I believe that we need to love each other unmercifully. We need to love each other
mercifully,
unconditionally. You know, we don't give ourselves mercy. We love unmercifully.
Okay.
We have to love unmercifully, because if you can't give of yourself, you can never receive. And a lot of times, I had a tremendous thing happen. I had a pastor in Africa wanted to send us money for our ministry because he wanted to help us out. They had people in the church with dirt floors living in huts. But he had that much mercy on me. And I told him, and he may well see this video, I told him, it's okay. It's just okay. That's why we give our life to Christ. That's why we end these shows. Just look up and say, Jesus, I make you the Lord of my life. And help me to change. Help me to be merciful. Help me to bear each other's burdens. Help me to stop along the road and help someone. Help me and give me the strength to be able to do it.
Amen.
That's what Christ is all about. That's what God is all about. Unconditional love, unconditional favor, unconditional grace. And all of those things are available to us. So God bless you. It's been a wonderful show. Thank you, and go.
He is the healer of my soul.